86-70 the final score, and I said this on the Rapid Reactions video pod, which they're back after home games. I think if you didn't see this game, you might go, 16 points. Am I happy with that or not happy with that? I'm happy they won. Did they look good? Adam, I thought it was, is there room for growth? Of course. I thought this was an enjoyable evening of Carolina basketball. I don't think the Tar Heels played their best defense in the first half. Radford shot 50%. I thought Radford made some really tough shots, to their credit. And they made some shots where Carolina gave them too easy of a run at the basket. That got a lot better in the second half. Radford shot 34% in the second half. That's much better. And outside of about a 6-minute stretch where the Tar Heels really had trouble just hanging on to the basketball, I thought Carolina's offense was pretty efficient and impressive for most of the night. And I will also say about that stretch with the turnovers, they were turnovers of aggression, at least. It was trying to pitch the ball ahead. It was trying to drive and get it down low. It wasn't just sloppy or careless turnovers. They were turnovers trying to do something. And so, of course, you don't want turnovers, but at least they were, again, aggressive turnovers. And all the things Hubert Davis said he wanted to see, better pace or a faster pace, the willingness and ability to share the basketball, better shooting, although that cooled off from the outside, at least in the second half, and just consistent energy, effort, toughness, diving on the floor, like all that stuff. That Carolina showed it. And so they didn't necessarily blow Radford out. I do think Radford's a solid mid-major team that'll have a chance to win the Big South. That shot well in the first half. All in all, fun to watch the Tar Heels play, and they won the game relatively comfortably.
Yeah, I think all those things are true, and I think Carolina addressed some of the deficiencies you mentioned, like the turnovers in the first half. I think there were 8. There were only 3 in the second half. So some of those things were corrected, and we heard Armando Bacot and some of his teammates kind of chattering around the locker room about how that first half they just felt like they were overamped and kind of got unusually tired just from excitement of finally being able to play. So I'm not sure the first 20 minutes is entirely representative of what this year's team will be. I think what is representative of what this year's team will be, some good depth with a lot of different pieces who can do a lot of different things. And even in small minutes, you could imagine ways in which that could help. For example, somebody like Jalen Withers didn't play huge minutes, but when he did come in, had a really aggressive drive to the basket and scored in a way that we haven't seen Carolina score that way very much the last couple of years. And defensively defended a lot of different players, blocked a shot. And you could name everyone. He's just one who didn't play much, who you thought, I could imagine him playing more.
Yeah. And he had that nice sequence in the second half where he tied up a rebound on a missed free throw to give Carolina possession, then got an offensive rebound on the ensuing possession and scored.
I thought just in general the offensive rebounding was more encouraging than the last couple of years when offensive rebounding basically meant Armando and sometimes Leaky Black would go to the offensive glass. Tonight, I think you can clearly see Armando Bacot's going to offensive rebound, as you know he will. But you saw Paxson Wojcik get a couple just off of hustle. You saw Harrison Ingram get a couple just off of kind of knowing where the ball's going to go and being savvy. We know our guest today, Zayden High, is going to rebound all the time when he's in. So I thought the rebounding was encouraging. I think overall that's a season-opening win from a team that has 4 players back from last year and 7 new ones.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I do think it worth remembering that Carolina is a very different team than it was a year ago. And while they have practiced together, this was the first time that they'd been together in a regular season game. And so I do think you saw some of those type of new group of guys. And Carolina played a lot of guys. I mean, there were a lot of player combat. That felt like a Roy Williams handled game as far as the personnel, because Carolina played a lot of combinations of players in the first half. I think sometimes even if it wasn't necessarily the best 5 that was going to give you the best chance at that exact second, But then, as the game went on, that pared down a little bit, and Carolina played with the guys that able to stretch out the lead, and then started substituting a little bit more again. So, Adam, I mean, I think you said this at some point, and I know I talked to Coach Davis about it after the game. 10 guys played 8 or more minutes, and I feel like you could say Jalen Withers did this and helped Carolina win. Armando Bacot did this and helped Carolina win. Ellie Cadeau did this, and on down the line. Everybody did something, and that's encouraging.
And I think Carolina did a pretty good job of figuring out what it was doing well and doing that consistently and exploiting that. You mentioned the shooting. Carolina took 61 field goals. Only 20 of them were for 3. And that's on a night when they weren't shooting from 3 very well. So there's no need to take a whole bunch from 3. They were 7 of 20, but they weren't 7 of 29.
Right.
Which we've seen. So they were more effective from 2, and so that's what they decided to do. I think that's a positive sign. I think if you watch the Rapid Reactions pod, which I'm sure you all did,
yeah,
I thought it was interesting how both Armando Bacot and Hubert Davis said the exact same thing about where they thought Carolina had the advantage, like word for word. And it's not, they don't do that sitting next to each other. They do that, they come in a closed environment, Jones. Yeah. They can't hear the other one.
No.
It's like a game show.
Yeah.
It's like they're on the big board on Family Feud. You can't hear the other one's answers. And they both said the same thing about get it inside with poster penetration, hit the offensive glass. That tells you, I think this team is pretty much on the same page this early in the year, and now the challenges keep getting better as the year progresses.
Hold on, Adam. I picked a poor time for me to try to get Lil Cassio.
Why is Lil Cassio not up here right now? I thought he needs a permanent spot on the desk right next to the
here he is. I've got Lil Cassio.
Sheet of paper.
All right, my whole point of bringing out Lil Cassio is I wanted to see what Carolina shot from 2-point range in this game, and the answer is 61%. So, I mean, they got a lot of good looks. And I can think R.J. Davis made a very difficult guarded 2-pointer in the second half. I think R.J. and Cormac Ryan each probably took maybe 2 quick threes throughout the course of the game. And Pete Chilcutt, who was doing our analyst work tonight, said this during the game. He said, coming back from a break or something, we were talking about Carolina's offensive efficiency, and he said, I'm struggling to think of a shot that I thought Carolina forced. He said, not every shot has gone in. He said, but there aren't many that it was late in the shot clock. In fact, did Carolina ever we didn't have a lot of YOLO threes with 2 seconds left on the shot clock in this game, if any. And so I guess the point of all that is to say, it felt like even if they didn't go in, for the most part, Carolina took really good shots and worked to get those shots.
And I think there's an element of being able to score in different ways that wasn't always present sometimes in the past, where it was either Bacot close to the basket or someone 24 feet from the basket. Ingram and Withers especially are capable of scoring in between those two areas. We know R.J. Davis can shoot that little mid-range shot if he gets a gap in there. So you've got multiple ways to score from multiple people, which I think diversifies your offense a little bit.
So, and I don't want to, certainly there's plenty of things Carolina to work on. Didn't shoot great the free throw line, 65%. Turned it over in that stretch some.
I still don't think played as fast as Hubert Davis wants them to play.
But faster.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle between where sometimes he was frustrated last year, but not where he wants them to be this year in terms of tempo.
Yeah. Adam, what else? The rebounds were probably closer than Carolina wanted. I will say, I thought Radford had some decent personnel. They were bigger than I thought they were going to be, even though, I'd certainly seen their heights on paper. But I thought they were a little bigger and more athletic. Again, I think they're a solid Big South team. I'm not trying to act like it's the best team Carolina's going to see this year. But I think a solid first game competition where sometimes you get a team that you're just a million times better than. I thought Radford was up to the challenge to play hard, play well, hit some tough shots, and gave Carolina a good look at things it needs to improve on. I think particularly defensively in that first half.
Ultimately, it was nice to be the team that had 18 assists on 32 field goals rather than the team that had 5 assists on 28 field goals, because it's been the other way in the not too distant past.
Yeah. So Tar Heels win it 86-70 over Radford. Adam, anything else that I'm forgetting or individuals you want to talk about? I will say I do think the word versatility has been used. You could see Jalen Withers has missed some time in practice here recently. I think you can see he's going to be a versatile piece. Harrison Ingram's a versatile piece. I thought there was a stretch in the second half where Harrison Ingram was the best player on the floor, just doing a bunch of different things. Cormac Ryan, Paxton Wojcik, just versatile pieces. So I think you saw some of that.
And Carolina seems to want to use that versatility, especially defensively. We saw a lot of switching.
Yeah, they switched almost exclusively, and they did that in the exhibition game.
So we'll see.
Now, is that going to work when you're playing Villanova? Or to even try and do it then? I don't know. But, I mean, Hubert Davis, he wants that. And I think he's got some more pieces that are capable of it. But we'll see. All in all, Tar Heels win. 19th time in a row that they've won their season opener. 22nd year in a row that they've won their home opener. And they're 1-0. They'll face Lehigh coming up on Sunday afternoon.